As we close out the show, we got Mavs at Lakers tonight. Chandler, you're going to the game. How big of a performance do you think Luka tries to put up against his guys tonight?
I think he goes bananas. I think he's uber. I think the over/under is 31.5 points. I think he takes 25 shots. I think he has a 40 piece. I think he has such personal vendetta against Nico Harrison. I think he has personal vendetta against this whole franchise. Everyone was surprised. We were surprised. Can you imagine how he felt? Again, they're also banged up. They're missing most of their key guys. The spread's 9.5 points to the Lakers are huge favorite. I just think he comes out. He's super aggressive. His guys are going to try and get him involved. You know, LeBron's going to be spoon feeding him earlier too. So I'm taking the over, Luka 31.5, and I'm taking the Lakers.
What about you, Boogie? What you think?
I'm going with the Lakers with this one as well. Obviously, Dallas is in full strength right now, so I think that plays a part in that. But as far as Luka and his approach, I think he's coming in with, revenge on his mind. I think this is going to be a very emotional game for him. If it was a 50-point shot, I think he would take 10 of them. I think he's coming for blood. I don't disagree with him. This was an emotional time for him. It probably still is emotional. He probably still hasn't really fully processed, what has happened. So it was a surprise to him. It was a surprise to the league. So I can only imagine the emotions going into this game.
I think it's gonna be a big night. Rumor has it you sitting with Cuban tonight.
That's right. I'm going with the ex-owner of the team. And you know what I'm missing? Maybe I'm petty. Does Nico go to the game? He's got to, right?
I think he's damned if he do, damned if he don't.
And does Luka talk to him like pregame?
No.
I think they'll never have a conversation in life again.
Yeah, I think that's it. No more.
He's definitely blocked. Yeah, for sure.
I've seen guys not speak to their former GMs for less. It's not happening.
You know what? I'm gonna get there early. I'm gonna be there for the national.
We need a prop bet. We need a prop bet on that.
Yeah, I need to see
whether or not Luka Doncic and Nico Harrison speaks to each other. We'll see you guys tomorrow.
Suns. It has not been the best of times for the Suns. They lost to the Spurs, slow down. Sunday, blown out by the Raptors, which means they've now lost 8 of 10. And the 2 wins they have had have come against the Bulls and the Jazz. So, Boogie, I'm going to start with you. We've talked a lot about the Suns. It's like Suns-Sixers. It's just been rough. Are they the most disappointing so far this season?
Disappointing, yes. And the reason I say that is more so about the amount of money these guys are making. The team that they put together with the intentions of putting this team together. It's been the complete opposite of what their plans were. They haven't really found success in any season together. It's been something every year with this team. I take it back to, when they were first constructed. It just wasn't a good job constructing this team. And I think this is a result of it. Just because you put top names together doesn't necessarily mean it's going to flow and it's going to work. And I think this is an example of that. So no flow, no chemistry, no camaraderie, really. It's just a group of great names that just don't fit together, and, it shows.
It's rough. Lou.
Yeah, and I love the word intent. Like, you put this team together with intent for them to be something to be reckoned with coming in the Western Conference. I remember when it was announced, and we were like, okay, now this is interesting. And Chandler and I, for the past 2 seasons, we've been waiting for that moment to turn in. We've been waiting for them to turn it on, to hit the switch and turn into that team that we've expected them to be. It's just been anticlimactic up until this point, losing 8 of the last 10, coming out of the All-Star break, playing bad basketball just as much as you were before the break. Usually the break is a great reset for some teams to start figuring things out and turning the page and getting back on the right track. It looked like this team isn't doing that.
Yeah, I've been such a believer, and I drank the juice. I thought on paper this team
we all
made
did
sense. The last year, I didn't like them trying to put Devin Booker at the point guard, taking him out of his natural position, but then they go and get a Monte Morris. Then they go and get a Tyus Jones. And I thought that was going to kind of put them over the edge to have a setup guy, because their offense is very take turn. Who's hot? Let's feed them the ball. But then they kind of get away with what works. Their defense is brutal, so they don't get back in transition. And then it's just like an effort thing where these guys. It was really humbling seeing them against San Antonio. Like, they just got outplayed. Like,
you said it looked like they didn't like each other.
It's like they were chirping a lot. The coach, Bud, was going at KD. KD was chirping back to him in the middle of possessions. It didn't look like this team was having fun. You watch like a Thunder team play. You watch these other teams play. They look like they enjoy playing with one another. This team, it just looks like the breakup is coming. There's all the rumors of the trade deadline also, and nothing happens. So now they have to go back to the same locker room with that distraction. There's the beef with Nurkic and Bud didn't speak for a month. There's just a lot of underlying issues here. But the fact of the matter is they're horrible defensively, and their offense is very strange. They don't stick with what's working. It's a very one-on-one ISO-driven offense, and it just doesn't work. It's I can't imagine they run it back one more year.
Well, so here's the thing, right? We obviously trade deadline, it's a professional thing. Everybody sort of gets what comes with the deal. However, maybe subconsciously, does that play a little bit into sort of their chemistry now? Because so much was made, Beal's going to be out, maybe we shop KD, and then nothing happens. Does it just make it awkward now?
I mean, that's an excuse, but
it
was bad before this.
Fair enough.
Yeah, so I mean, yeah, I don't think that helped the situation. I definitely don't think it bettered the situation, but I mean, it was bad before then. It's bad now, and I think it'll continue to be bad. It just doesn't work. This isn't a formula that's working.
That'll be us giving them an out, right?
Yeah.
Like, these guys are showing up and they're competing. It's just not good enough, you know? So we can blame it on the locker room. We can blame it on trade talk. Like, Kevin Durant he's been through talks of moving to other teams, not necessarily getting traded to another team, but he's been through this process before, and he's been professional throughout, right? So, and he still goes out there and he competes at the level that we're used to seeing Kevin Durant compete. Collectively, as a group, this team just don't cut it. They just haven't, and again, they don't guard. And when you're in the Western Conference and you look at a lot of these teams, you got to be able to sit down and guard somebody, hold a team to 110 to 115, and give yourself an opportunity to win games. This team is giving up upwards of 125s and 130s. It's just a hard way to win for a team to compete like that.
All right, all three guys are under contract next year, Chandler. What is this going to look like? They all back? Who gets moved?
I think 2 of the 3 are gone. I think this is Devin Booker's team. I think it always has been and always will be. I think he'll be the last piece to get moved. I think that is when they go full-blown tank rebuild mode. If you can see him, going to a Houston or something like that, where you can get back a bunch of assets for someone like him. But it's going to be KD and Beal first. I think Beal's obviously the harder one to trade with the no trade clause, with the salary he's making and the way he's playing this year. It hasn't helped his case, but Kevin Durant is the obvious one. I think people will make big pitches to kind of acquire him this summer. But when you draft a guy and you guys have been there for years like Devin Booker, I think it's his team. He's the face of the franchise. People come and go all the time, but I think it's Book's team, and I think he's the one that they end up inevitably building around.
Would he want to move? Like, do you think somewhere in his
Listen,
mind?
you never know. As you see Dame Lillard, I never thought he would be in a different jersey. I thought a lot of these guys would never be in a different jersey, and then, push comes to shove, and you want to maximize your window. Devin Booker, obviously, he's still in his prime. He's still going to continue to get better for years to come, but yeah, he doesn't want to be a part of a rebuild, I guarantee you that.
All right, Boogie, that's 2 of 3 moving. You agree?
I agree that it's 2 moving, but I actually feel Brad would be one of those guys. Not Brad, but Devin would be one of those guys that's on the move as well. And the reason I say that is, well, one, he's already become the franchise leader in scoring, so obviously I feel like that's an important, accolade for any player that's been with a franchise. So I think his time there is proven, but I'm thinking about it from a business standpoint and an ownership standpoint. I don't see why they would keep anybody.
Fair.
If we go into a rebuild, let's go into a full rebuild. You get plenty of assets back for a guy like Devin Booker. And obviously KD would be on the move. You can get assets for him as well. I think the hardest guy to trade out of that scenario is Brad Beal. He makes so much money. He's at a point in his career where he's frowned upon or he's not at the level that he was once at. So with the trade clause as well, I just think he's the toughest guy to move out of that group. So I actually see KD and Book on the move.
When you look at what they've paid in sort of tax, luxury, all that stuff, it makes it even harder to sort of fathom that this is the situation that they find themselves in.
Also, how quickly it happens. When they put this team together, new ownership, we were like, they're a top team in the West.
Yeah, we were like, this guy's going to come in.
This is it. And then they add the point guard. This is a fall from grace.
It really has not worked out. And then I started the show saying
be
Suns
up there
and
to
Sixers.
fall.
That's true. They never even got there. I never even got there to
They
fall.
just stumbled to the side. The Sixers are the other team that we've sort of spoken of almost the exact same way all season long. This game last night was gross. They end up losing by 32 to the Bulls. They were down by like 50 at one point. That is weird math. Paul George, after this one, talked a little bit about this whole last stretch and possibly making a plan. Here he is.
Regardless of who's playing, who's not playing, to have admirations or for this group to believe that we can be not even, to get to the playoffs, but make a push towards it. I mean, we've shown no sign of a team that will compete, and you know, we just don't have the habits of a champion or a playoff contending team would have. So to be honest, right now it's a little far-fetched.
I mean, who's mad at that?
Real though.
Nobody.
That's real. That's real.
You know what? That's accepting responsibility and taking accountability for where you are as a group and individually. This is another team we had high hopes for, especially when they added Paul George. Like, we liked this team a lot when it was just Embiid and Maxey. And then we like, well, what's the next step for this team? Where can they go from here? You add Paul George, we like, okay, things can be interesting in the Eastern Conference. And this team has fell flat on its face from day one, from the scandal with Joel saying he won't play back-to-backs. That put a target on this team from day one, and they've just underachieved, haven't played to the level like Paul George just said. Nobody is taking pride in what they are doing and trying to go out there and put themselves even in a position to make a play-in. Like, if you can't go out there and put the effort in to go make a play in, then now I'm on board with you guys. Shut everybody down. Let's see what we can get for it, because this not gonna cut.
Welcome, Lou.
It's crazy because they're 20-37. Like, the Brooklyn Nets, who I probably can't name 5 players on their team, have a better record than them. Like, it doesn't make sense. I know injuries are a lot to deal with, but they still have enough to compete. They still have enough to have some sort of pride to go out there and make games competitive. This was nuts. They were down 40. They were down.
They're 50.
They were getting down 50 points on their home court to the Chicago Bulls that don't even necessarily want to win the games right now. Like, this is pretty bad, man. Like, I don't know if this isn't rock bottom. I don't know what is. If this isn't a sign that they need to just shut everybody down and prep for next year, look no further than last night's film, because this is brutal and it's not getting better. And who cares? You make a push and make the 10 seed, and what, you lose to the Hawks like in the first round of the play-in? With that's a success all of a sudden? No, get the highest pick possible.
And you've wasted more time.
The only positive is you get Jared McCain back next year. He was one of your bright spots this year. Possibly could have won the Rookie of the Year if he'd remained healthy. You got some bright spots here, but this thing's going to come down to pride. Who wants to be in Philadelphia and who wants to compete at a high level and give them a chance to win games?
But there's no movement, right? Like, Paul George is there for a while.
They're there.
Embiid's going to be there for a while. Like, this is it.
Well, since Luka, we can never say this is it anymore. We're never sure. If you're not. I don't even know who can't get traded at this point, So teams
everyone's on notice.
Everyone's on notice from top to bottom, and I hate to say that because I got great relationships over there in that organization, but business is business. You got to look at everybody when you have this type of season. You got to check everything and see if cross your eyes and cross your T's and dot your I's and make sure you do your due diligence to give yourself an opportunity to be successful.
I don't think this is a year where they should think about blowing it up. Like, I just think it was a bad year.
Just shut it down.
If this isn't a clear sign to shut it down, this is one of the voices in your locker room. This is one of your franchise guys, one of your cornerstones. And he's being brutally honest after a blowout game against a very bad team.
Yeah.
So for management, this is a clear sign to shut down your stars.
But not a tank, just to shut it down and get ready for next year.
You have to be
you can label it whatever you want. I mean, if you shut it down,
but just for this 30 games.
But it's time to shut it down.
Yeah.
Get your stars healthy. Get everybody right for next season. Get a head start for next season, and let's start planning for it.
And by the way, this team healthy going into next season, I got them top 4. This is a team that should be really, really good.
By the way, because also, what if they did accidentally mess around and win a couple more games and then they lose that pick? Now you've pissed off the fans.
You cannot do that. That's
more.
Fireable offense.
Yeah, so I feel like you have the backing of the fans at this point to just
shut it down. Shut it down.
Call it DOA.
Give refunds on the tickets like Dallas did. Shut it down.
Locker room,
some free
trade talk. Like, Kevin Durant he's been through talks of moving to other teams, not necessarily getting traded to another team, but he's been through this process before, and he's been professional throughout, right? So, and he still goes out there and he competes at the level that we're used to seeing Kevin Durant compete. Collectively, as a group, this team just don't cut it. They just haven't, and again, they don't guard. And when you're in the Western Conference and you look at a lot of these teams, you got to be able to sit down and guard somebody, hold a team to 110 to 115, and give yourself an opportunity to win games. This team is giving up upwards of 125s and 130s. It's just a hard way to win for a team to compete like that.
All right, all 3 guys are under contract next year, Chandler. What is this going to look like? They all back? Who gets moved?
I think 2 of the 3 are gone. I think this is Devin Booker's team. I think it always has been and always will be. I think he'll be the last piece to get moved. I think that is when they go full-blown tank rebuild mode. If you can see him, go into a Houston or something like that, where you can get back a bunch of assets for someone like him. But it's going to be KD and Beal first. I think Beal's obviously the harder one to trade with the no trade clause, with the salary he's making and the way he's playing this year. It hasn't helped his case, but Kevin Durant is the obvious one. I think people will make big pitches to kind of acquire him this summer. But when you draft a guy, and you guys have been there for years.
Tonight, all eyes will be on the Lakers as they take the floor, but one player in particular is poised for a statement game. There's an energy in the air, an unshakable feeling that this is going to be one of those nights. The kind of performance that lingers in highlight reels and sparks conversations for weeks. The over-under is set at 31.5 points, but that might just be a starting point. Expect him to take at least 25 shots, hunting for his moment, driven by something deeper, something personal. This isn't just another game on the schedule. This is vengeance. A vendetta against an entire franchise, against a front office that made decisions without him in mind. The Lakers are massive favorites, with the spread sitting at 9.5 points, and that's no accident. Their opponent is missing key players, and the door is wide open for a superstar takeover. From the opening tip, the aggression will be evident. LeBron James, ever the maestro, will be feeding him early, setting the tone for what could be an offensive explosion. The mentality? Attack mode. The expectation? Fireworks. The emotional weight of this game cannot be overstated. There's a rawness to it, an unsettled feeling that lingers even now. The shock of it all still fresh, not just for him, but for the entire league. Nobody saw this coming, and as the night unfolds, that energy will manifest in a relentless offensive assault. If he had the chance, he'd take 50 shots. That's the kind of night we're in for. There's a point to be made, and he intends to make it emphatically. Sitting courtside, the owner will have a front-row seat to the fallout, a reminder that some moves come with lasting consequences. Will there be an awkward moment? A forced interaction? Doubtful. The relationship is fractured beyond repair. These conversations are over. The past is the past, and tonight is about proving a point, on the scoreboard, in the box score, and to an entire arena that will feel every bit of the emotion fueling this performance. Meanwhile, in Phoenix, the Suns are spiraling. A loss to the Spurs was bad. A blowout at the hands of the Raptors was worse. They've now lost 8 of their last 10, and the 2 wins? Against the Bulls and Jazz, not exactly confidence-inspiring victories. This was a team built with championship aspirations, a roster constructed with a clear intent. Instead, it's been a series of missteps, a puzzle where the pieces simply don't fit. The chemistry isn't there. The flow is non-existent. What was meant to be a juggernaut has become a case study in what happens when talent alone isn't enough. The Western Conference is ruthless, and the Suns simply don't have answers. Every year, it's something new, another reason why things aren't working. The reality? This core has never clicked. There's no rhythm, no synergy, no sense that this team enjoys playing together. Watch them on the court, it's evident. Compare them to a team like the Thunder, a squad bursting with energy, playing for each other, relishing the game. The contrast is stark. This feels like the beginning of the end. The trade deadline came and went, and with it, the rumors swirled. Moves were expected. Nothing materialized. Now, the same players who heard their names floated in deals must return to the locker room, pretending it's business as usual. But it's not. Tensions are evident. Fractures in relationships aren't easily mended. And beyond the off-court drama, the on-court issues persist. Defensively, they're a disaster. Transition defense is non-existent. Offensively, there's no commitment to a working system. It's isolation-heavy basketball, devoid of movement or creativity. It doesn't work. It never has. And unless drastic changes are made, it never will. Looking ahead, the inevitable question looms. What happens next? This is Devin Booker's team. It always has been. It always will be. If a teardown is coming, he'll be the last to go. Kevin Durant? His market will be robust. A franchise looking to make a title push will be ready to roll the dice. Bradley Beal? That's the tough one. His contract is massive. His value isn't what it once was. And with a no-trade clause in place, maneuvering a deal becomes infinitely more complex. But make no mistake, change is coming. The writing is on the wall. And then there's Philadelphia. If rock bottom hadn't been reached yet, last night might have been it. A 32-point loss to the Bulls. At one point they trailed by 50. 50. That's beyond a bad night. It's a flashing neon sign that something is fundamentally broken. Paul George's post-game comments said it all. This isn't a team with championship habits. This isn't a group capable of making a real push. This isn't working. And the truth is it hasn't worked all season. The high hopes, the excitement surrounding roster moves, it's all faded. Reality has set in. The injuries have piled up. The effort has waned. The results speak for themselves. This is a franchise at a crossroads. Do they fight for a play-in spot, just to scrape their way into a postseason run that likely ends in a swift exit? Or do they accept the truth, shut it down, and look ahead to next year? The Brooklyn Nets, a team with no clear direction, no star power, have a better record. That's where things stand. Pride is gone. Confidence is shattered. The film from last night is all the evidence needed to see the state of this team. For management, the decision should be clear. Shut it down. Call it what you want: load management, strategic planning, future-focused decision-making, but the writing is on the wall. This season is lost. The best move now is to prepare for the future. Get players healthy. Start fresh. And when the dust settles, take a long, hard look at what needs to change. Because this isn't sustainable. And everyone knows it.